Shall I start?
Namaste all. Welcome to Charaka for Children, guest lecture series presented by Aptas Ayurveda Trust. I, Dr. Anupama VC, MC for today's session. On behalf of Aptas Ayurveda Trust, I would like to extend a warm welcome to our esteemed guest lecturer, Vd.Shreevathsa Sir, Professor, Head of the Department of Samhita and Siddhanta, Government Ayurveda Medical College, Mysuru. I even welcome Dr. Arhan Sir, Aptas Core Committee member. I would even like to welcome Dr. Sharad Kumar Sir, founder of Aptas Ayurveda Trust. I welcome Kiran Sir, Dr. Kiran Sir, Aptas Core Committee member for this guest lecture series. A warm welcome to all our respected teaching staff and students who have taken the initiative to participate in this contest. So now let's begin the series. So today's topic, Charaka for Children, is Principle, Preparation and Procedure. It's my pleasure to introduce our esteemed guest speaker, Vd.Shreevathsa Sir. Sir is basically from Shimoga district of Karnataka state and presently working as a professor, head PG studies in Department of Ayurveda Samhita and Siddhanta, Government Ayurveda Medical College, Mysuru. Sir completed MD from IPGT and RA Gujarat Ayurveda University, Jamnagar in 2000. And Sir has written 30 books and published 300 articles. Sir is double gold medalist and Rotary Pandit Ayurvedic Education Awardee and completed Vidvat level in Carnatic music. He is also practicing Yoga Chikitsa, Nada Chikitsa and Ayurveda Chikitsa. Sir is currently in charge principal of Yoga and Naturopathy College, Udupi. So without further delay, I would like to invite Vd.Shreevathsa Sir to share his knowledge with us. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Just a minute. So screen is visible. Now, window or entire screen I have given, but it's opening in multiple windows. Smart day, but share kottaga it is opening in a multiple.
ಈಗ ಪಿಪಿಟಿ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಿ.
Is it visible?
Yes, visible.
Okay, fine. Namaste everyone. We are here to know 2 points exclusively related with the competition Charaka for children, keeping Charaka Samhita in center, which is very important. So the basic requirement before starting to work on this particular competition is to study Charaka Samhita. This is very, very important point because many times what happens, especially at the age of BAMS, at the level of BAMS, we are eager to implement whatever we studied very superficially. It's of no use. For example, when we are focusing on the children, you are eager to communicate that Brahmi Muhurte Uttishtet, Dantadhavanam, and all. Fine. Before that, you should trace the root in Charaka Samhita, which is very important. In Charaka Samhita, the description of Dinacharya, Ritacharya has been given in a different way, which you are supposed to keep in mind whenever you are working on this particular competition. So studying Charaka Samhita, especially comprehensively, is very, very essential before starting the process of execution. So at the level of planning, one group specifically should study Charaka Samhita in very deep manner, which is very important one. Without studying Charaka Samhita, it cannot be executed properly because executing the principles of Charaka Samhita in adults is different. Executing the same in children is different. The level of intellectual development, the need of the application, both differs. So this point has to be kept in mind, which is very important. Once the process of studying of Charaka Samhita is complete, then you should move further regarding the process of execution, wherein you should plan for different practical methodologies, which are very important. So before that, you should have thorough knowledge of Charaka Samhita, which is very important. So what all the areas of Charaka Samhita you should focus on, that we will try to know later. So mainly the focus group has to be considered very seriously, even though the focus group has been specified as from class number 5 to class number 10. I mean to say 5th standard to 10th standard. But knowing about the classification of focus group is very important. Mainly, we have the focus group of children in 3 forms, in 3 levels. One we call it as primary, second one we call it as higher primary, third one we call it as high school, which is running currently. Because in new education policy, it changes, but maximum in the current scenario, these 3 levels are existing. So your focus group should be higher primary as well as high school. Why I am stressing this one is, again, the narration needed, the methods to be incorporated differs in these 3 levels. So that's why knowing the focus group is very important. I'm presenting the method of implementation in all the 3 levels just to sensitize you about the technology. But the competition is intended mainly on higher primary as well as high school level. This point you have to keep in mind, which is very important one. As I already said, the way of your presentation, the content quality, and the outcome analysis differs in all the three levels. This point should be kept in mind, which is very important. What are the strategies we can think of when we are working for children? First, gather the available resources. This is a very essential one. When there is a competition, many times we focus more on finance than human resource. This time we have given sufficient number of volunteers to be involved in the competition. There will be 50 volunteers, right? So that itself is the biggest strength which you are supposed to realize. So always don't think of using more financial resources in this particular competition. So make use of your intellectual resource very properly. This is very essential one because current generation thinks everything from the point of finance than from the point of intellect. So think of human resource. Human resource is the strongest, strengthiest, and richest resource. So this you have to keep in your mind, which is very important. So focus on gathering the available resources first and try to think of utilizing minimum finance. It is left to you. If you are ready to invest more money, we don't have any problem. But we are talking from the point of your intellectual utilization. So better make use of your intellectual resources well, and you are targeting a particular group. To target that particular group, there are few legal issues, there are few administrative issues, there are few protocol issues. So these points you have to keep in mind. To address these issues, you are supposed to make use of various resources from the point of government. I mean to say, dealing with education department, dealing with different authorities of education department, dealing with or making use of resources of administrative committee or administrative organizations or administrative people of different schools and all. So all these points come under this particular strategy. This is very important one. Don't neglect this one. Moving on to the second one, for the school, government and private. The intention of mentioning government and private is very specific because the environment at government schools is different. The environment at the private schools is different. This point you have to keep in mind. Again, this is required from the point of narration of the subject, from the point of consideration of the population, from the point of consideration of administrative issues, and from the point of contribution. At government levels, the contribution needed is different. At private institutions, contribution needed will be entirely different. So, for the schools, government as well as private, preferably if we select government schools, we have more options to implement many concepts. We come to know about organizational methodology of implementation. In private, what happens, it is highly restricted environment where we will be generally having less scope of implementation. What I mean to say here is, in private institutions, they come with some demand, whereas in government institutions, we will have freedom to implement our program very properly. So that's why your planning should be according to the school, which is very important, one, whether it is government or it is private. Moving on to the third one, use skills more and resources less. Earlier I mentioned it as gather the resources. Now I'm talking about the skills. All 50 students who are participating, generally will have many skills. Make use of those skills very properly, uh, which is very important. I will clarify this a bit. For example, one student might be good at drawing, so make use of his skill to present the concepts of Charaka Samhita in the form of drawing. One student might be good in enacting, two or three might be good at enacting. Make use of their skills of enacting in presenting the concepts of Charaka Samhita effectively to the children. Similarly, some might be good at writing poem or poetry like that. So make use of their skills to communicate the concepts of Charaka Samhita effectively to children. So like this, I have given two, three examples. There are many more. So you make use of those skills very effectively so that the children can be educated well with the principles of Charaka Samhita, which will be very essential for them to lead healthy life or life with homeostasis. Fourth one, beware of rules and regulations. This is very important one. Of course, organizers have been designed brochures and all based on this one, but still my intention is to sensitize about this one. So don't neglect the rules and regulations related with both government as well as private sector. You should be very aware of this one. So you are educating some health principles. The children, if they perceive in a different way, and if they implement that in a different way, certainly rather than health benefits, there might be health hazards. So you should be very, very particular, very, very specific about the information what you are communicating, the knowledge what you are disseminating in the children. So beware of rules and regulations, especially in both government as well as private sectors. Many times we neglect this. In a hurry to convey the information, we go on telling whatever whatever is not there in Charaka Samhita. So that we should not do. The information in Charaka Samhita should be communicated very appropriately uh, without disturbing the concept. For example, one example let me tell, as it is Nastriyam Vishrambhaye, which is mentioned in Charaka Samhita. So many times we translate that as we should not have faith in woman. So if you communicate the same to the children, it's what injustice to Charaka Samhita what we do. The context is different, the meaning is different. Something whatever we see in translation, and we try to communicate the same to the public. This should not be done. So this point we have to keep in mind. That is very important one. And focus on both rural as well as urban areas. Again, this is also very important one. Nowadays, we have equal scope in both rural as well as urban areas. The need of Ayurveda in urban areas is in different way. The need of Ayurveda in rural area is different. So this point we have to keep in mind, and accordingly we should give the information. We should educate Charaka Samhita to the public. For example, when we look into the urban areas, we come up with the students who are suffering from obesity and all, or we come up with the students with some lifestyle eradication. So there, the way of communication of principles of Charaka Samhita is different. When you look into rural area, there the way of communicating Charaka Samhita will be entirely different. This you have to keep in your mind. I mean to say you are not supposed to have some generalized information and that can be communicated everywhere. It is not like that because you are in technical field now already. So you should be more technical, which is very important. Don't dilute the principles of Charaka Samhita. Again, I'm telling. So don't club. In the previous years also, we noticed it. Names they give Charaka Samhita, but students they mix everything and they try to do in a different way. For example, If you want to sensitize people about Oshadham, keeping the Oshadhas explained in Charaka Samhita only, you have to train them. So whatever you are doing, it should be Charaka centered. It's not like Ayurveda centered. This is entirely different what you are supposed to know. Our target itself is to communicate Charaka Samhita properly because Charaka Samhita is encyclopedia of Ayurveda. This point we have to keep in mind very seriously. Don't think that Ashtanga Hridayam is simplified version of Charaka Samhita. That's why anyhow we can implement the principles of Ashtanga Hridayam. No, that's not required here. This point you have to keep in mind when you are executing um, principles of health to children. It should be Charaka Samhita based. Don't neglect it. Don't forget it. Fine. What are the orientations we are supposed to have in this particular competition? This is very important. First and foremost, try to focus on health improvisation for children, health maintenance for children. This is very important. And here you have a lot of scope. Again, refer Matra Shatiyam Adhyayam, Tasya Shatiyam Adhyayam, Navegandharaniyam Adhyayam, as well as Indriyopakramaniyam Adhyayam. So read them very seriously, wherein you get some unique information related with health. You should try to have orientation regarding the same, and you should try to disseminate the same to the children. This is very important one. You should develop health orientation in children, and you should develop health culture in children. What I mean to say is, you informed. Do you expect that it will bring some change? Certainly no. You should do re-evaluation too. Otherwise, whatever you have done, it's of no use. You will have sufficient time. You are going to visit the schools repeatedly. You have the time to assess outcome also. So you have given the information, but how much, how best? It is retained and utilized. That has to be cross-checked, which is very important. One. Otherwise, whatever you have done, it will be simply like a drama, or it will be simply like a task which is done only for the sake of competition. So you should grow beyond this competition, which is very important. One. So have some health orientation programs, which is very important. One. The second utmost expected needed currently, especially in urban area, is learning orientation. Generally, what happens, the children of rural areas, they make use of all the learning techniques very properly because they're born and brought up with locum. So they make use of locum for better understanding. So they are very intelligent enough to make use of nature for learning. But this is lacking in urban areas. This point you have to keep in mind. And even in the private schools also, they expect you to teach learning skills, even though you say that you are going to talk about health, you are going to talk about circumstances and all, their expectation is more in this area. I mean to say learning orientation. So we have so many principles of learning in Charaka Samhita, which you are supposed to pick and which you are supposed to tell properly. Don't copy something from Google. Don't try to copy something from some YouTube videos, and don't try to tell that as the concept of Charaka Samhita. No, that's why I mentioned in the beginning only. You have guidelines in Charaka Samhita itself. You have to read it and you have to implement it. That's very essential. Don't dilute principles of Charaka Samhita. You have freedom to simplify the concept. Don't dilute in the concept. The third one, life skill orientation. So for this, you have to refer Indriyopakramaniyam Adhyayam very seriously. They use many principles which are very essential tools to develop life skills. So make use of them, which is very important one. So you this is one more area where you can plan few programs. Fourth one, social orientation. This is one more area where you can work. It should not be like something celebrating World Environmental Day. No, it is not like that. Sensitizing children towards natural resources, keeping the principles of Charaka Samhita in mind. So for this, you have description in Charirasthan. I will give those references later. So in Charirasthan also you have reference. Again in Sadgurupta you have extensive information related with this social orientation. We should educate the children regarding social responsibilities, keeping Charaka Samhita in center. So nothing is excluding Charaka Samhita. Whatever there in Charaka Samhita, that has to be implemented properly. The fifth orientation is family orientation. Nowadays, we are in need of this. Against this, we have description in Sadgrutam more in the context of Indriya Adhyayam. So try to read it very properly. Try to read each and every terminology in Indriya Pakramaniyam. Then it will be very easy to develop a family orientation in children. So these are all the different orientations needed for you to plan very successfully for this competition. Yes. As I already said, whenever we are focusing children, it is not some generalized methodology. That's why I have given all the three levels, even though there is no scope for you to focus on the children of primary education, but still just to sensitize you how the method of narration differs, how the method of outcome analysis differs, how the method of perception in children differs. That's why I have given this level of children also, just to sensitize you regarding incorporating different strategies depending on different levels of education of children. First one, in primary education, mainly we should focus on very simplified way of narration. Ayurveda, Dinacharya, Ritucharya, explaining Charaka Samhita. So if you talk in a very highly technical way, for example, you are talking about Vyayama, and you say that if Vyayama is done, that is going to happen, this is going to happen, which is not at all known to the children. It's of no use. Okay, so the way of narration should be very simple at primary education. This is very important one. And always we should focus on significantly on the concept of Vega and Sadvrita in this particular level. Because children, they are in need of concept of Vega at this age. They have the tendency to suppress different Vegas. It doesn't mean that we have to talk about Shukra Vega and all here. No, whatever the Vegas that are applicable, that you should think of and you should communicate, especially the suppression of act of defecation, act of urination, act of sneezing. So telling about this act of nidra vega. So these points we have to tell very appropriately. And the concept of sadvrita, we should focus on, especially in this particular age group. And there is need to train them with Trividha Jnanopaya and Smriti Karana. Here, only two play significant role. We are talking about primary education. That's why here we have to give them information. In turn, we should expect them to narrate what we have taught them. So here, Tadvidya Sambhasha will not contribute much. This point we have to keep in mind. And we have the concept of Smriti Karana, chapter, which should be implemented as per the need here. So we should stimulate the Smriti for this age group, which is very important. And from here only, if we train, automatically the level of Smriti of children will be very appropriate and will have the proper quality required. The usual methods what we can incorporate here are slogan, images, and videos. So the sentences should be very simple. The children of this age group, they perceive if you present in the form of slogans, and if you show the images, if you show the videos. So make use of these methods in the students of primary education. Of course, this is excluded already, but you should have this orientation, which is very essential one, and specifically focus on Ashta Ahara Vidhi Visheshayatana or Ashta Ahara Vidhi Vidhan. So this is a very essential to train the children. We all know this because nowadays children they eat food with mobile, they eat food erratically. These points we are significantly noticing. So there is need to train them regarding Ahara Vidhi Vidhayana, which is very essential one. Yeah. From here onwards, give more attention because here onwards your action phase starts. So higher primary, we mean to call it as mid school also. During our study time, nowadays we use the term higher primary education. Okay, higher primary as well as high school level, we should focus more. Don't have generalized way of narration from 5th standard to 10th standard. So focusing on 5th to 7th standard is different. Focusing on 8th to 10th standard is different. So this point you have to keep in mind, which is very important. So you can focus more on the concepts. No doubt you can focus on the chapters like Matarashitiyam and Satyashitiyam to draw the principles of Dinacharya to Suchiya. You have to do that, no doubt in that. And give importance here for higher level of narration. Don't dilute the subject. Appropriately go through the text, appropriately study the text, and make use of terminologies properly. And you should know the way of communication of information to the children here. Communicating to adults will be more easier than to communicate the concept to children. This point you have to keep in mind, which is very important. And create awareness regarding universe, keeping the principles of Charaka. So this is very important one. So from middle school onwards, you have much scope, you have much more responsibility regarding training the children to know about this universe, training the children to know about the responsibilities towards the loka. Here you have more options. You communicated the information. After that, you can ask the children to come with presentation in the form of illustration, interaction, and all. You train them to practice whatever you inform, and then you do the evaluation of them and the changes in their health status based on your observation, based on the experience of the children. So you can make use of videos, evaluation, interaction, practice-based methods for communicating the principles of Ayurveda properly to the children. So here you can have three levels of execution of your plans. One, whatever the concepts that are there in Charaka Samhita which are applicable for this age group, that can be given appropriately in the form of information. Don't put information in too elaborate way. So it should be in acceptable way for that particular age group, which is very important. You have given the information. After that, how much they have implemented, that you have to check with either in the form of questionnaire or in the form of assessment, anything. And the third one, just to make the information in the form of retention, you can conduct few competitions too. It might be in the form of quiz, or it might be in the form of giving a principle and drawing pictures on the particular information, or it might be in the form of writing an essay, or it might be in the form of narrating the same concept, whatever it might be. So have few competitions, implement few competitions for them so that the concepts, whatever you have communicated, that is registered well. Similarly, from the point of social responses, you taught some principles of universe based on Charaka Samhita, just to check whether they became responsible regarding that social responsibility or not based on few experimentations. So this is how these are a few points what I'm sharing with you. You can go beyond that. You have to go beyond that. That will be considered more significant in the competition later. Okay. So next, this as I already said, you have to do because in current situation, people they expect this much, and we people we have too much of a scope in this area. Prepare children for reading well or for to know the information well, then we should prepare children to communicate the information well and make them to involve in interaction. Here, Tadvidya Sambhasha has to be implemented. That is very important. The very purpose before doing anything, you should have the purpose in your mind, which is very important. So, children are the brand ambassadors of next generation. This point we have to keep in mind. Generally, what we say that kala kit hogide. I mean to say now the time is not as it was earlier. We see current generation is not in the right way. Many times we get the comment, right? We used to put this comment. Our generation was like that. This generation is not like that. We used to comment. Don't you think the current generation has been designed by the earlier generation? Okay, the future generation certainly will be generated by the current generation, right? Then, how the blame can be done like this? We cannot do that, or we cannot do that. Okay, so we are the architect of next generation. We are the outcome of earlier generation. So this point we have to keep in mind. So that's why we have utmost responsibility to um, have the generation in future which is progressive than regressive. Okay, so that is possible when we incorporate these technologies properly. I mean to say that Trividha Jnanopaya, Ashtasmriti Karanas, and all. So there is need to have the generation which is having highest level of intellect. There is need to have the next generation which is having the highest level of quality of life. So for that, the principles of Charaka Samhita are very essential. So keep this point in mind whenever you are moving further. Yes. Now let us try to know the strategies needed for the high school. The subject might be general, but the way of a presentation again differs, and the way of analysis again differs. That's why I mentioned in point number three as the important uh, for and of application as well as analysis, which is very important. And especially for the children of high school, give utmost importance of Sadhvrata. The reason is very simple. They are entering and they are in the age of adolescence. So here, educating Sadhvrata is very, 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 very essential. In primary, to some extent, even in higher primary, children they follow what the elders say. So there will not be need of much of training there, but in high school it is not the scenario. So training them regarding Sadhrita is of utmost importance because here peer group influence will be more. This we have to keep in mind. So for them, advice in Sadhrita is very essential. They will get attracted more from the peer group than the parents. So that's why uh, I'm not telling which group is superior. My intention is very clear here. So educating the adolescent group, high school, because high school is falling in between. So in some children, adolescence starts there, but in some children, adolescence might not start there. But our focus is to educate Advaita properly for them. This is very important one. But analytical thinking starts here, application starts here. Whatever you say, they expect you to present it in the form of application or experimentation, and their analytical thinking will be more which we are supposed to keep in mind. And make everything more interactive and accessible. So if you go on narrating, they will not understand. This, I mean to say, they neglect. So it's not so easy to target this particular group. So here, your way of narration will be entirely different. It should be more interactive so that we can make it more effective. And you should talk in terms of application, which is very important. So here, make use of techniques either to narrate or to assess, like debate, quiz, essay, narration, and all. Whatever will be convenient, whatever you feel that is suitable, that you can think of and that you can utilize. And you should again make them to realize the social responsibilities. Here, so realizing them to know about social responsibilities from the point of principles of Charaka Samhita is very important one, because the chapter of Janapadodvamsa Vimaniyam speaks about the same. There is need to think of Kala Shuddhi, there is need to think of Desha Shuddhi, there is need to think of Jala Shuddhi, there is need to think of Vata Shuddhi or Vayu Shuddhi, because the whole Janapadodvamsa Vimaniyam has been designed based on these four principles. So we should not move away from the social responsibilities. So make sure that children are sensitized about social responsibilities and they are involving in social responsibilities, keeping incorporating the principles of Charaka Samhita. But as I already mentioned earlier, there are few chapters of Charaka Samhita on which you should give more scope because those chapters are having more application value from the point of children. The first and foremost is Swastha Chatushkam. You have a bit of scope in Desha Chatushkam just to sensitize them regarding cultivation, keeping few common drugs which are mentioned in Desha Chatushka. But we have utmost scope of implementation in Swastha Chatushka. The four chapters, as I already mentioned, Matra Shitiyam, Sasya Shitiyam, Navegandharaniyam, and Indriyopakramaniyam. Read these, I don't want to use the term read, study these four chapters very seriously first. Then point out the areas which can be implemented practically. Next, think of methods through which you can communicate the concepts of Charaka Samhita properly to the public. Think of perception of public about the principles what you are going to communicate. Then trace whether those principles can be implemented practically by them or not. Give some time. I mean to say, if it has been done for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, we might not be observed changes. So many times, minimum of 10 days, minimum of 15 days, minimum of 1 month will be required. So that point has to be kept in mind for evaluation. Okay. So this whole phenomena should be predicted properly and the execution phase should be prepared well. Okay. So this is what required in this area. The second division which you should be well versed for the application is Annapana Chatushkam, especially the last chapter, Annapana Vidhi Adhyayam. In Yajjah Purushiyam Adhyayam, you get few tips, as I already said, learning methods, learning skills. For that, few tips are there. I mean to say, Sadvidya Sambhasha Buddhivardhananam. So even though it comes in the next context also, there are few such references which are mentioned in Agriya Prakarana. There are few Agriyas which are needed for the maintenance of health daily, like Kshiram Jivaniyanam and all. Okay, so that's why you should trace Yajja Purushiyam Adhyayam well. You should trace Annapana Vidhi Adhyayam properly. And few concepts of Viruddha also you have to identify and you have to trace it out and you have to educate them. There also you have much scope. That's why focus on this division, Annapana Chatushkam Adhyayam, which is very important. Moving on to Vimanasthana, there we are in need of, so we are having so many points for application. We have so many areas to work on. Amongst the different chapters, three chapters are the most important one. One is the first chapter, Rasavimaniyam, where we get the principles for Ahara Vidhividanam. So we have to focus on that one. And the concept of Satya has to be trained for the children in a simple way. So the concept of Satya is also evident here. So that has to be studied well first. Then that can be utilized for application. And Rogapishabditiyam is a very essential one because we come to know about the concept of Vaya here. Our way of education always should start with situation analysis. In research, we call it a situation analysis. So before introducing any subject, first we should assess the situation and we should sensitize everyone regarding the situation. So when we are focusing on higher primary school, we should sensitize children about their status in that particular age. Similarly, when we are starting educating the high school children, we should train them regarding their situation in that particular age group. This is very important. So, Vayajnanam has to be initiated before initiating other concepts of Charaka Samhita practically. So that guidelines we get in Rogapishan GPM. And apart from that, there are many other information. As I already mentioned, like the concept of Sadvidya Sambhavi, sorry, Trividha Jnanopayam and all. So they are all having too much of practical value scope for us to compete in this particular competition. And then as I already mentioned, Janaprodhamsa Vimaniyam has to be studied well. As I already mentioned, to sensitize children about Loka, to sensitize children about this universe, knowing this chapter and communicating the principles of this chapter is very important. We have the description regarding Vikrita Desha Jala Kala there in Janaprodhamsa Vimaniyam. Right? So that should be reversed. I mean to say, Prakrita Desha Lakshana, Prakrita Vata Lakshana, Prakrita Jala Lakshana and all. And what has to be done? That we have to educate. Again, it is evident in Janaprodhamsa Vimaniyam. So this is very essential to sensitize about social orientation in children. Next, as I mentioned earlier, there are two more chapters on which you should give utmost importance. One is Katidha Purushiyam Shariram. Second one is Purusha Vichayam Shariram of Sharirasthana. So in Katidha Purushiyam Shariram, we get regarding the concept of Prajnaparadha very significantly, even though it is there in Chitrasthana also. In Katidha Purushiyam, Satmendriyartha Samyoga, Prajnaparadha and Kala from the point of practical orientation has been introduced. So we have the responsibility to educate about Satya Indriyartha Samyoga, Prajna and Kala to the children because these three are the Swastha Sutras as per Charaka Samhita. We know that Hetu Linga Ushadha Jnanam Swastha Atura Parayanam. Trisutram Shashwatam. That's what Charaka Samhita speaks about. So here, to know about Swastha Hetu, to analyze Swastha Linga, to implement Swastha Aushadha, the guidelines are given in Katidha Purushiyam Shariram. So this Katidha Purushiyam Shariram should be studied well so that execution and outcome analysis will be very easy for us. The another chapter which is very important one and it is highly resourceful chapter is Purusha Vichayam Shariram. So here we get the information regarding association of Loka as well as Purusha. There is need to sensitize the children about this particular area. We are in a situation, we are in an era wherein we are living in the environment which is highly dissociated from the Srishti of Loka. We are dependent on technology and we have forgotten this universe. So there is need to sensitize the children about the loka. We should make them to visualize loka. We should make them to live in loka. We should make them to feel the loka, which is very important. People of that generation, children of current era, they are completely unaware of enjoying loka. They are completely unaware. There is need to make them to live in the loka itself, which is very important. We have created artificial environment in such a way that they started feeling that itself as the real environment. So we should bring out them out of this illusionary world, which is very important. And for that, we should make use of Purusha Vichayam Shariram very properly and which is very essential one. Of course, we have scope from Vedhan GDPM Adhyayam till Uttaravastha Siddhi Adhyayam of Charakata. That is another issue. But from the point of children, these are all at most important areas where we can work seriously. Even the concept of Sadatura from the point of Chhatra, I mean to say student, there are many aspects which are present in Siddhisthana too. So excluding the chikitsa of various phases, focusing swastha parayanam highest, to the highest extent, these are all the major areas of Charaka Samhita which you should study them, based on which you have to develop the practical guide exclusively for children, which is very important one. So with this, few examples let me share with you. You have many more. You can think of your own style that is different. The few points I have mentioned here. Nowadays, as you all know, it is Prakriti which has to be considered very seriously for maintenance of health. Health is not a generalized information as per Ayurveda. Health is individualized. Everything should be Purusham Purusham Vikshya, as we all know. Have a simple scale of Prakriti, especially applicable for children. Again, keeping two levels in mind. In a few points like assessment of Agni, assessment of Kostha, assessment of Sharira, assessment of Vani, assessment of Nidra. So keeping these five criteria or these five principles, you can have a simple Prakriti assessment scale for children, either in the form of a questionnaire or in the form of Likert scale, whatever it may be, whatever it might be applicable. You trace out the situation, you trace out the perception of level of perception of children, and have a simplified form of Prakriti assessment scheme. And according to Prakriti, educate the children regarding lifestyle. That helps a lot. This is highly technical way of application of Charaka Samhita. So we have guidelines in Vimanasthana 6th chapter, Prakriti based lifestyle narration has been given there. Take the support of that and make use of that. As I already said, make the children to be more responsible regarding social responsibility. Have few programs with this orientation also, making them to cultivate few dravyas which are mentioned in Charaka Samhita, making them to use natural resources like jala, vayu, and all very properly, making them to be more sensible regarding pollution and all. Again, based on the principles of Charaka Samhita, I'm stressing that because it's very important. So our purpose is to even target the elders also through children. This they have to do. It is not like some simply mechanically implementing something to the children. No, through them we should touch elders. We should touch the whole society. That's why our educative style, our educative methodology, our educative content should be in such a way that children are the via media so that we can target the society. So if it is not done, whatever we are doing, it is going. So we have to keep this point also in mind. You can have some activities in such way also, in that way also. And this point I already told you. Again, I want to highlight this. Charaka Samhita based healthy food practices. Again, whatever the references I have given, try to utilize them properly and try to execute them very properly. This you can do in any form. It might be in the form of practical demonstration. It might be in the form of a effective way of communication through audio, video, aids, whatever it might be. And delivering the results, that's also very important. And as I already said, we are doing, but if we are not evaluating, because everywhere pariksha has been highlighted in Charaka Samhita. So if pariksha is not implemented, it's of no use. So the outcome has to be examined well, which is very essential one. If outcome is not examined well, whatever we do, it's of no use. So we have to do that. That is very essential one. So I have given many fields till now. Think, rethink, read, reread, plan, replan, execute, re-execute, evaluate, and re-evaluate. Why I have told this is it will not come in a day. It will not come in single effort. Charaka Samhita itself has been designed like that. So from every effort, we get new lesson, and that guides for our next level of effort. So it should go on like that. So then we will reach one level. Again, we cannot call it as the complete one. That's why keep the principles of Charaka Samhita in mind first. And the mentors, the teachers who are coordinating this one, make your students to read these chapters very seriously, read Charaka Samhita very seriously. At least for 10 to 15 days, we should study very seriously. Otherwise, it will not be easy for them to come up with quality implementation. So that's why make them to read in group. Let all the 50 read it very seriously. Then make the group of 10 and let them study more in more organized way. Then once you read it, then think of communicating that to the children. How effectively that can be communicated to the children. That is challenging. So think of that. Then you have some implementation materials. It might be in the form of handout, whatever it may be, whatever will be convenient for you. And first check whether the students they are perceiving it or not, which is very important. And if not, then go for some other effective way of narration and try to communicate very effectively. Trace uh, whether they are implementing whatever you told properly or not. After a certain duration, try to evaluate it. So then only the whole task will be complete one. So keep these points in mind. As I already said, I have given many seeds for you. You can develop a forest out of it. So how you convert these seeds into forest and how you are going to have healthy generations ahead is in your hands, because one single seed is having thousands of trees inside it. So it depends on us how we cultivate it, how we maintain it, how we facilitate that seed to grow. So that's why keep these seeds very properly with you. Try to implant them very properly. Try to nurture them very properly. Then the knowledge forest can be enriched. Otherwise, it will be of a mechanical phenomenon. With these words, let me conclude my words. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. Now the session is open for questions.
That's why I accepted the view, accepted the invitation to present in front of you. I'm very confidently telling all these things based on my experience only. Without my experience, I won't expect any invitation. So I work in all the sectors of public community in this particular area. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm confidently telling all these things with you.